Sunny day, sweeping the clouds away. Hi everyone, and welcome. My name is Alex, and if you're familiar with that tune I was just singing, you probably grew up with the very popular long-running children's series Sesame Street, because that's what this video is going to be on. Sesame Street first premiered on PBS, then currently NET, on November 10th, 1969, and is now currently celebrating its anniversary of being on the air for 50 years. Wow, 50 years. To think it's been on for that long, it's still fresh for new generations of kids every year and decade. The show originally started off as 5 test show pilots in July of 1969 before getting the green light and becoming an official series 4 months later. With over 4,000 episodes, the show has taught kids everything they need to know, from the letters in the alphabet, numbers and counting,
1 and 2 and 3, counting all the shakers that there be.
different languages,
La 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 la, amigo, la 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 la, I like you.
sharing,
Well, maybe friend somebody you give up last cookie for.
cooperation,
Cooperation makes it happen. Cooperation, working together. Dig it.
getting along with each other,
Get along. Shoo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo-ya-bang. Get along. Shoo-be-doo-wop, shoo-be-doo, get along.
and even getting into deeper subjects like racism,
Tully, there's just some really stupid people in the world who can't stand to see it when people of different races are friends.
divorce,
Mom's tree is over here, back there is Daddy's tree. They live in different places, but they both love me.
and even death.
Big Bird, Mr. Hooper's not coming back.
Why not?
Big Bird, when people die, they don't come back.
Ever?
No, never.
While the show was primarily aimed for kids, it has a sense of humor that everyone can enjoy, and it wasn't just straight up watered down for the kids such as shows like Barney and Friends and Teletubbies. The show has even gone out of its way to parody current trends going on like old gangster movies,
Hi, boys.
I told you the secret knock was 3 knocks. 1, 2, 3, right?
All right, boys. I forgot.
western movies,
Hey, you guys, look. It's Sinister Sam. Sinister Sam. Is that right, Sinister Sam? I'm looking for the biggest man in the place.
music videos,
Nothing that starts with an N. Nothing. There it is again. Nothing.
game shows,
Beat the time.
commercials,
Now here's a dish before it was washed in brand X.
soap operas,
Be sure to stay tuned to WCTW today for
and so on and so forth. In the early days, it was also very common to have characters perform song covers of original songs that weren't made specifically for the show.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine.
Someone's waiting just for you. A spinning wheel, a spinning drum.
Over the years, many celebrities have even made appearances on the show. As time went on with the show, merchandise began to hit the shelves with toys, books, home video compilations, specials, video games, and the list will go on and on. Sesame Street taught me a lot growing up, and I wouldn't be who I am today without watching it. But for as good as the show is, though, there were times it could be a bit strange, and even just downright bizarre and creepy. Whether it was a Muppet skit, or a cartoon, or a film, you name it. Some skits were so frightening, I actually found myself running out of the room whenever they would come on. There are even times certain skits and episodes were so controversial they were actually banned from ever airing again on TV, and I've never seen the light of day again since. The original version of I Want a Monster to Be My Friend and episode 847 in particular come in mind. Matter of fact, I'm actually not even the only one who found certain aspects of Sesame Street to be creepy back in the day. There is a thread on the Muppet Central forums that is entirely dedicated to skits that scared fans when they were kids. It's quite a fun thread, so to say. With that being said, here are my personal top 10 Sesame Street moments that terrified me when I was a kid. Number 10. Lefty the Salesman.
Hey, bud. Hey, who? You.
Lefty the Salesman was a recurring shady-looking green-anything Muppet salesman in a trench coat who was active on the show from seasons 1 through 6 in the early to mid-70s. A skit typically involved him trying to scam Ernie with ridiculous items such as an invisible ice cream cone, a bottle of air, an empty box, and a stop sign, all of which he would charge 1 nickel.
1 nickel? One nickel. Right.
Other skits involved him taking orders from his boss, one of which got him arrested in the end.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
I should have ran.
I never saw any of his skits on the show as a kid, given that many of his skits didn't air very much during the 90s, so my only exposure to him was on the Play Along Games and Songs VHS, where he sells a painting to Ernie with 4 elephants, which is really just a tree that has a leaf shape to make the empty sky portions look like elephants. And when I saw him on that tape, I just found it to be absolutely terrifying. His appearance was so shady looking, his low whispery voice provided by Frank Oz himself was creepy.
I take the golden Ann and I put it in that tan truck.
Along with his little hick, right. And his loud shushes whenever Ernie would raise his voice were also very startling.
What, me?
It took me very long to have the courage to watch that particular tape, because that one skit I remember would prevent me from watching it very often. Number 9. Beginning, Middle, End.
Yes, every story has a beginning, middle, and an end. And when it's over, we can go back and tell it all again.
Beginning, Middle, End was an animated Sesame Street song written by Chris Surf and Sarah Durkee, with animation provided by Sally Cruikshank. The song first premiered in the show's 20th season in episode 2556 on February 20th, 1989. As the title of the song goes, it taught the concept of how a story is told with a beginning, middle, and end, with the melody of the song parodying And She Was by the Talking Heads.
The world was moving, she was right there with it, and she was. The world was moving, she was floating above it, and she was.
The song was sung by 3 singing books provided by Paul Jacobs vocals, who follow the main character Seymour throughout his day. I always thought the song was really catchy and the animation had a nice design to it, with a bit of a Rocko's Modern Life feel to it. But this one particular scene from the song really creeped me out.
Seymour is waking up. He's wearing striped pajamas.
Why the heck does Seymour's bed have a face? That's just very strange and creepy. No joke, this seriously freaked me out when I was a kid. I was so worried the bed was going to start talking, which thankfully it didn't. But even then, that face alone is just so creepy and completely unnecessary to put on to begin with. It wasn't until I was about 7 years old that I finally got over my fear of this song. Number 8. The 2-part Ernie and Bert skit where the Count sleeps over.
But I do feel bad taking Bert's bed.
Oh, don't feel bad about that.
No, Bert doesn't mind.
This 2-part Ernie and Bert skit first premiered in Sesame Street's 8th season in episode 941 on December 20th, 1976. Ernie and Bert invite the Count to sleep over for the night, and the Count takes Bert's bed while Bert sleeps on the couch. In the first part, the Count has trouble going to sleep, so Ernie suggests the Count to count sheep. He does so, and as to be expected, he gets so caught up in counting sheep that he keeps Ernie up throughout the night.
I love these. Seven little sheep jumping defense. Eight little sheep jumping defense. Oh, this is wonderful. Nine sheep jumping defense.
And here's where things get really creepy in part 2. Bert and the Count greet each other good morning, with Bert under the impression that the Count had a good night's sleep, to which he retaliates that he didn't sleep at all. And then Ernie comes out looking like this.
43,891, 43,892,
Ernie?
43,893,
Ernie, I'm over here.
43,894, 43,895,
Ernie!
sheep, 43,896, 43,000.
Could I sleep over again tonight, Bert?
Yeah. That all-nighter face fizz was just absolutely terrifying, and even the sound of Ernie fainting was also pretty spooky. While Ernie may have gotten a taste of his own medicine with keeping Bert up at night, it was still a skit I always remember dreading whenever it would come on. Number 7. A film involving toys, robots, and satellites. This very strange film first premiered in the season 18 premiere, episode 2226, on November 17th, 1986, and it featured a montage of wind-up toys, robotic machines, and satellite transmitters, with a musical song Portrait Done Robot playing in the background. This film absolutely terrified me. Those wind-up toys were so creepy looking, the robotic machines were even worse, and the satellites, well, they were what they were. But man, I just remember wanting to leave the room whenever this film came on, and the music playing in the background didn't even help one bit. As an adult, I have to say some of those robotic machines are pretty cool, especially the ones building the car, but those toys still creep the hell out of me to this day. Number 6. The Russian Nest Dolls Counting Cartoon, 1 to 10 version. The Russian Nest Dolls Counting Cartoon, in its 1 to 10 version, first premiered in Sesame Street's 5th season in episode 540 on November 23, 1973, and as you can guess, taught the concept of counting 1 to 10, with the dolls opening themselves one by one, as you naturally would with Russian Nest Dolls. The animation was really cool in its natural stop-motion form, and the dolls are really cute, but naturally with the dolls, less details are painted onto them the smaller they get. And when they finally get to the last doll, we get this. Yeah. That 10th doll looks like a melted piece of candle wax with a ghostly face on it. This doll creeped me out so much that I actually remember running out of the room whenever this cartoon came on. Seriously, put some details on that thing. Number 5. Mysterious Theater. Mysterious Theater was a recurring skit parodying the PBS series Mystery. The series first premiered in season 20 and ended in season 23, and they really went out of their way to parody the Mystery series. From the opening of the painting with the lady at a gravestone, to Vincent Twice. Oh, excuse me.
Vincent Twice.
A parody of Vincent Price, who was performed by Marty Robinson. A skit typically involves Sherlock Hemlock trying to solve a mystery, but as his usual self, does a poor job at it, to which his sidekick dog Watson has to do most of the work. I absolutely hated these skits when I was a kid. The opening just terrified me, with the creepy music, to the painting itself, the sound effects and the camera zooming in on the gravestone, and Vincent Twice himself in that dark room of his made me feel so uncomfortable watching the skits. It took me quite a long time to get over my fear of those skits, and even I still have bad memories to this day of being terrified by them. Number 4. Dawn Music.
Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow.
Dawn Music was a recurring Orange Gold Anything Muppet music composer performed by Richard Hunt, who was active on the show from season 6 through 22 in the early 90s. A typical skit usually involved Kermit in the Sesame Street news segment finding Dawn in his studio composing a new song on his piano, only to be frustrated that he can't find rhyming words that make sense for his songs, and would bang his head on his piano out of shame.
Oh! No! No! What is life anyway?
Kermit would then help Don out by rewriting the songs entirely into something, well, rather unusual, which usually results in something like this.
Drive, drive, drive your car gently down the street. Merrily, 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 life is but a treat. There you go! What do you think?
I love it.
As Don performed his new, unusual nursery rhyme songs, he would be joined by backup singers that would come through the door to his studio or just pop up out of nowhere. My first exposure to Don was on the Sing Yourself Silly VHS, which featured his debut song Mary Had a Bicycle. And let me tell you, it didn't go very well. Hearing Don rage from anger, along with the very loud sounds of his piano keys as he bangs his head on his piano, frightened me. Little did I know this wouldn't be the first time I would see Mr. Music on Sesame Street. I also saw him in the Sesame Street game show Mystery Guest alongside Cookie Monster and Sherlock Hemlock, who I needless to say was surprised to see him there, and found him more tolerable in that skit than his regular musical ones, along with his performance of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, coincidentally in the episode show A Final Dawn music skit. It took me quite some time to finally have the courage to watch the Sing Yourself Silly VHS to get over my fear of Don, and as I've gotten older, I found his outbursts to be very funny and relatable as a creative person myself.
I'll never get it! Never! You won't help, Mo!
Number 3. Fat Cat.
Fat.
Cat.
Sat. Hat.
Fat Cat is a rhyming song that first premiered in the Season 5 premiere in episode 536 on November 19th, 1973. The song features Menomino's Sesame Street counterpart Bip Bip Bidot as a pumpkin orange anything Muppet as he appeared in Season 5, alongside 3 blank anything Muppets in sunglasses, performed by Jerry Nelson, Frank Oz, and Jim Henson. All the Muppets would say words that rhyme with each other, and then the blank Muppets would line up and repeat each set of words. Afterwards, Bip would come running up, combining all the words in a fast-paced scat, annoying his companions.
The fat cat sat on a hat, saw a rat on the mat, got a bat, had a chat with a gnat that he'd pat in a vat that was flat. Oh yeah!
This song creeped me out so much that I actually walked out of the room whenever it would come on. First of all, those blank Muppets are just so creepy. What was the point of even making them faceless to begin with? The shades do absolutely nothing. I remember the blue guy creeping me out the most, especially with his very low, robotic voice that Frank Oz gave him.
Sat, fat, cat, sat, hat, tall, small, ball, tall, wall, fed, bread, head, fed, bread.
Then there's Bip himself. I remember being so confused seeing how he looks here, because I couldn't tell if he was, as I used to call him, the Air guy from the song Air, much later in Season 20, or if this was a completely different character that just somewhat looks like him. Those angry eyes were just terrifying, and his disruptions were also pretty frightening with the way he yells right into the camera. Granted, this is the nature of a typical wild Dr. Teeth-sounding Jim Henson character, but in a child's perspective, it's never exactly a fun experience watching this wild Muppet just run up to the camera and start yelling right in your face. It wasn't until I watched the Getting Ready to Read VHS later on when I finally got over my fear of this song. Number 2. Bushman Bill from Dee Dua Dua.
Hey, this is Bushman Bill with a big hit song you've all been waiting for. That's right, boys and girls, and Bushman Bill played it first right here.
Bushman Bill is a wild-haired disc jockey performed by Brian Meal, who was a parody of the late popular radio DJ Wolfman Jack. He introduced the song Dee Dua Dua by Dee O'Day and the Dewdrops, which was initially filmed for Season 11 but didn't premiere until the following season in episode 1449 on November 27th, 1980. The song itself is quite a beautiful and catchy disco song dedicated to the letter D.
When you're near me, I'm delighted. When you leave me, I'm depressed. That's why I've decided I want you to be my special D. Oh, oh, oh.
But Bushman Bill himself wasn't all that pleasant. What really terrified me with Bill was his voice. His very loud, scraggy voice, even combined with his own wild appearance, made me terrified of the character. And I hated the fact that he had an outro at the very end of the song.
Oh,
that was numero uno on the charts. Be My D. Remember, you heard it right here with Bushman Bill. Now, back to your regularly scheduled kiddie show.
And let me just say, this isn't the first Brian Meal voice character to have a very off-putting voice.
At the sight of my white, bright, cleaner than clean, I mean, perfectly pearl white teeth.
No, I am not like a big tasty cookie. I am not the letter O.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. No disrespect to Brian, but I'm really glad he left after 5 seasons. Anyway, before we get to our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. This is my J.
This is my J, and you can't take it from me. This is my J, so please don't be a dummy.
This is My J is a song about the letter J sung by Bliff while backed up by his partner Sully and other construction workers, which first premiered in Season 10 in episode 1169 on May 4th, 1978. He sings about his love for the letter J and how he will never abandon it. That is, until their lunch break comes and he lets it fall to the ground. This is such a beautiful song, but what frightened me was that loud alarm whistle in the end. I actually remember walking out of the room when this song would come on as a result of it. The Bellhop number 8 cartoon.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The Bellhop number cartoons were a series of cartoons that premiered in the 20th season of Sesame Street, which consisted of the hotel's bellhop doing tasks involving a particular number that usually don't end very well for him. The bellhop must take down 8 suitcases for a guest who's leaving the hotel, which he stupidly does by putting them on wheels and pulling them down 8 flights of stairs and nearly putting his life at risk of it. This one really terrified me because of the way he speeds down those stairs on those suitcases, combined with the echoing of his screams and hitting the walls and stairs. Never would I have imagined a bellhop cartoon would scare me. The mask counting cartoons. The mask counting cartoons are a series of stop-motion cartoons with characters and masks carrying numbers up to the number 20 that first premiered in season 26. These cartoons just creep me out to no end. I mean, those masks were just so bizarre looking. The animation itself was creepy, and the music certainly didn't help either. By the way, can I just say this particular mask looks like the face of the spiteful brake van in Thomas and Friends?
You can't, said the brake van. I am essential.
Right in the middle of my face.
Right in the middle of the face, right in a very special place. There is a thing that helps you sneeze, achoo, and breathe as easy as you please.
Originally performed in the first season by Bob and later on having numerous performances and street scenes just like the original, the song will later get its chance as an insert performed by Elmo, with animation by Jane Eyre and Chroma Key in the background. This version first premiered in season 24 in episode 3130 on April 30th, 1993. The animation featured different paintings demonstrating the different parts of the face, and let me tell you, the animation really creeped me out. Especially the painting of the girl chewing bubblegum. Ugh. At least the song ended with a cute Mona Lisa painting. Exploring in Your Closet.
It's fun to go exploring, exploring in your closet.
Exploring in Your Closet is a stop-motion animated song teaching the fun of what you can do when you explore in your closet. It first premiered in season 24 in episode 3132 on May 4th, 1993.
It's fun to go exploring, exploring in your closet.
Exploring in your closet.
The animation in this song absolutely terrified me, and I hated it whenever it came on. What really creeped me out the most was seeing the clothes swipe side to side. It reminded me so much of the brushes you would find in a car wash. And finally, number 1, Wet Paint by How Now Brown and the Moo Wave.
Take your brush and gently dip it. Be careful not to drip it. Wet paint. Wet paint. Wet paint. Wet your roller, then you roll it. Calmly, coolly, you control it. Wet paint. Wet paint. Wet paint.
Wet Paint is a new wave rock song performed by the Muppet band How Now Brown and the Moo Wave from season 16, who were a spoof on then current new wave rock bands. The song first premiered in episode 2033 on February 20th, 1985. The band's lead singer, How Now Brown, was performed by Chris Surf, who also wrote the group's songs, who was backed up by 2 Muppet Cows with vocals provided by Cheryl Hodrick and Ivy Austin. Both this song and their other song, Dangerous No Stranger, were designed to parody then-current 1980s MTV music videos. Sesame Street has always been known to parody current trends going on, and MTV music videos were certainly no exception. In fact, by season 16, one of their focuses for that season was to parody music videos. But alas, with the spoofing of 80s music videos also comes the price of very questionable visual effects. Many people claimed both their songs terrified them as kids. Their first song, Dangerous No Stranger, never terrified me. In fact, I loved it. I can understand why people found it to be creepy with the dark alleyway at nighttime, the spooky music, floating danger words, and explosions, but I always just found everything from the video to be so cool. Their second and final song, Wet Paint, however, was a whole different ballgame for me. The music video features paint continually splashing the background as the band plays the song. I thought the song itself was really catchy. It had some cool shots like How Now Brown's feet dancing in paint, the close-up shot of the band members, the multi-lane shot of How Now and the guitarist, and... yeah, I'll get to that part in a bit. In spite of that, however, the splashing paint in the background was just so creepy. The way it was coating the background, just the consistency of the paint alone looked like blood splashing on a wall. Something you would see in a horror movie. But I think what weirded me out the most about it was just how unnatural it looked. You can clearly see the splashing paint in the background as chroma key footage on a blue screen. And I can tell it's a blue screen because of how bad the puppets look against the footage. But a little kid watching the song obviously wouldn't be thinking that. They think this is how the video looks naturally. And then towards the end, the video gets really weird. Through more use of chroma key, How Now Brown is shown to be naked and eventually covered in yellow paint as numerous coats of paint continually splash the screen as it slowly melts away, and How Now Brown becomes obsessed with wet paint. The fake music video style credits even melt away along with the video. To make matters worse, original airings of the song feature an MTV VJ parody intro with a Hot Pink Anything Muppet performed by Fran Brill giving a backstory on the band. So viewers are given this false impression that they're likely in for a treat, only to get this very bizarre song in return. I never owned the Count at Higher VHS when I was a kid, so my only exposure to the song was through TV airings, and given that it didn't air very much during the 90s, I only saw it maybe 3 or 4 times, and each time I saw it, I was always terrified. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed my personal top 10 scary Sesame Street moments video, and if there are any moments from the show that scared you when you were a kid, be sure to leave a comment below and share those moments. In the meantime, this video has been brought to you today by the letter X and by the number 13. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I'm Alex and enjoy the rest of your day. Sunny day, sweeping the clouds away.